Through a Therapist's Eyes, the podcast. Welcome, Craig. How are you?
Doing great, Chris. How about yourself?
All right, I'm doing pretty good. Having a good day.
Good.
Welcome to our show. For episode 7, we invite you to see the world through the lens of a real mental health and substance abuse therapist. Our goal is still to create emotional growth. Feedback and discussion is not only welcomed, but we're really looking forward on Facebook, and we have a blog on the therapist throughatherapisteyes.com. Little disclosure, this is not the delivery of a therapy service of any kind. I'd like to throw that out, but this is a discussion about the human emotional experience. Let's figure this thing out together. So episode 7, we got a topic of moral courage. What do you think about moral courage, Craig? You ever hear of it?
I know what I could probably guess what moral courage is, but I'm not sure I've heard the term moral courage.
Name says a lot.
Does?
Forgot to mention a moment for Metrolina Psychotherapy Associates. We've got a psychotherapy agency in Belmont, serving children, adolescents, adults, and couples. They were founded in July 1st, 2010. They strive to work towards emotional growth. It's metpsych.com or 704-461-8253. One of the things I got to do, man, in my career as a LCSW therapist, I've got to go to continuing education credits. You got to do any kind of stuff where you got to learn still in the bank, or can you just get qualified in college and go do your job?
Yeah, we have classes and things that we have to do and have to take as part of the, I guess, the bank curriculum, like things on money laundering and that kind of stuff, but nothing like I think you're talking about.
So you do a bunch of continuing training, huh?
Well, I do a lot just personal stuff. I like to read and listen. I listen to other podcasts.
For
and I
your
take online
job.
courses, and but a lot of what I've learned about what we're doing here is self-taught. So I do a lot of training and a lot of learning just on my own.
Yeah, I've got to get 40 or 60 hours. I should know by now, this long in of continuing education credits, and I don't know, man. It's painful sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Like
all
playing in a
day
fire ant nest or something.
Yeah, man, but it is good that we keep learning. Of course, I don't ever want to stop learning, and it serves a good purpose. So I don't want anybody to think get hate email or something. Hey, he's downing the ethical requirement of continuing to get trained. But they are a little boring sometimes. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to go, especially after lunch when you're not working and you have to go back.
I'm sure it's a load of fun.
There was a particular training that I went to that what I'm leading to is this continuing education class that we had to go to because we have every single time we got to do so many hours of ethics. And every therapist knows it's like, oh my God, I go to the ethics training. We're scrambling at the end of our 2-year period to get our stuff in, and it's just like, it's painful. It's painful. The last ethics training that I went to was not. I can say that I pulled a concept from that training that has helped me personally in my life. It's helped me professionally in my work. It has been dynamically different in the way that I think about our topic today, moral courage. So this really kind of comes from that training. Yes, all the therapists out there listening, I totally pulled awesome new things from an ethics training. I say with giggles because we hear the same things a lot. Confidentiality and all that. What this lady was talking about and how I mean that it changed my concept on how to deal with stressful situations and stuff when you see something kind of going wrong. To me, this issue tonight answers a lot of the questions that we have in our news media today. And what we've struggled with in some regards, particularly to episode 6, we talked about homicidal stuff a lot. What do you do when you figure out something's going on? Well, would you agree maybe that people don't do anything a lot of times when they see something might be going on?
Right, probably so.
I don't want to get involved. I don't want to,
it's not my place.
Yeah. It's an issue. It's a real problem. I mean, we tried to get a lot of awareness out about homicidal thoughts and actions and concerns, and we talk about mass murder a lot last week, and
right. Yeah, let me be clear. I think it is my place. I said that's what people probably say. It's not my place. I think you should do something. I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
Craig, this guy in the podcast said, leave everything alone, man. Don't worry about that bag in the airport. Don't worry about
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Good.
Anybody who knows me knows that.
Good. Yeah, so it's really, it is baffling, though, and people really ask the question a lot of times when stories come out, why did you not take action? You knew there was a problem. You knew there was an issue, and you didn't do anything about it. And the person sitting there like, well, yeah, I didn't know. I don't know. I didn't. No one told me. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. All this stuff starts coming up. But people can get very, very angry about, inaction on people.
Yeah.
When they know something's going on.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. You see, I saw a video recently of a cop taking a guy down, and the guy was going for the cop's gun and asking people to do something to help him. And they're standing around videoing it with their phones instead of helping the cop, And so I think people do just sit on the sidelines in a lot of cases,
Yeah, and when we were newly married, I will say we were living in a duplex, and it was crazy night one night. I noticed there was this fight that was going on. Two dudes literally duking it out in front of our little duplex, and I don't know, a little bit later, it might even have been actually a different day. May not have gotten involved in that one, but turns out there was a drug house that was selling some drugs, is what we kind of found out later on. But before we found that out, somebody knocked on our door, tung, 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 tung. Hey, I've been shot. I was shot at. I need help. I can't tell you how I wanted to just keep that door closed and just not get involved.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah, I'll bet.
I'm not home.
What you do,
I'm not home. Nobody's here. We ended up, I went outside. He wasn't going to come in my house, and I had, we had portable phones at that time, not even cell phones, and we got the police called, and I left him, we stayed out there and got it dealt with. But it is an overwhelming feeling when you really get down to it that you see something going on and you don't want to do it. Well, why is that? The case that I'm going to make is that it's really related to this concept of moral courage. So let me go into what I learned about it that day in the continuing education credits. This lady kept my interest and kept my attention tenfold the entire time I was locked on at this conference, because it was so intriguing the way that she presented the ethical concept of the need to report and the need to, some of the things we talked about last time, and the need to take action through a close examination of the Penn State case with Jerry Sandusky.
Okay.
You remember what happened with that whole case? So
she was using Sandusky as an example.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you remember the ins and outs of that case? What's the basic for people?
So basically, if you don't know what the Sandusky case was, Jerry Sandusky was a assistant football coach at Penn State University under good grief, what's the guy's name? Joe Paterno.
Joe Paterno.
Yeah, at one time the most winning coach in NCAA history. And apparently Sandusky was molesting these young kids. And as it turns out, people in the university knew about it, maybe even Paterno himself, and overlooked it. And it continued to go on for years.
Decade or two.
Yeah, a long time.
A lot of victims.
Right. And these guys they didn't say anything. They let it go.
So we went through, she had followed this case very closely and with details, and really looked at different characters in that horrible storyline and what they knew and how they know they knew and what came out in the court hearings and all the details of, events where people were just led to be inactive. Now, he's a very powerful figure. You're talking about a football coach for Penn State University. They hold a big name up in those parts. Mm-hmm. And Jerry Sandusky himself was very, very imposing figure. one of the characters, for instance, was a janitor, I understand. And I can't verify any of this, of course, but for this training, I was told. He walked in, he was one of the ones that walked in the shower room, and there was a kid there, and they were, inappropriately dressed and whatnot. And, later on in the day, I mean, this little janitor was like, what, in his head, like, what am I going to do? How do I do it? Well, when he's leaving, and all the lights are out, and he goes out to the parking lot, and he, it's dark, it's after sunset, and there's off in the distance, headlights pop on right at the door, right at him from pretty far away. And he just stands there frozen. And the car gets in reverse, or kind of drives around slowly, comes down the parking lot slowly, and drives away. Now, that guy just saw that some kid was getting molested. What do you do? What do you really do in a situation like that? And there was 3 or 4 different characters in that storyline that she helped us really understand the incredible power that emotions have in those situations when you might have actionable information, you might have slightly actionable information, or you might have direct knowledge. Our fear and our feelings and our emotions absolutely drive to being incapable at times, immobilized, basically afraid to say stuff. Moral courage is something that you need in order to step into being a whistleblower, companies across the country, or, molestation cases, as Sandusky situation taught us, whether it be domestic violence with your next door neighbor. I mean, the situations are countless. A therapist who knows another therapist that's doing something inappropriate. Do you report it to the board?
What kind of fears and emotions are we talking about that would prevent somebody from doing something in a situation like that? I've never obviously been in a situation like that, but I'd like to think if I walked in on something like that I would take immediate action.
You'd like to think, but I would challenge that.
Yeah, and I'm being never being in a situation, maybe I would not, but I can sit here in this chair and say, "Oh yeah, I would have done something,"
right?
I would have taken care of that dude.
And I think we'd all like to feel that way. But let me just ask you then, in response to that, have you ever been in a situation, maybe not as dramatic as that, but a situation where you're kind of like, hey, that's their business. I don't want to pry. I don't want to get involved with that. That's a little bit out of my scope. I don't really know. I'll leave it alone.
Nothing's coming. Nothing to that.
Really?
I don't think so.
Buddy of yours having an affair.
I'm on the spot, but I'm drawing a blank.
Buddy of yours might be having an affair, or somebody committed a minor crime, or something that somebody, I don't know. I come across it now that I'm aware of this a lot. The discomfort with putting the spotlight on yourself by getting involved.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank, man.
You really are.
I'm kind of put on the spot. Maybe there is something there. I can't think of it right now.
Well, you think about it, and I would invite the audience to think about it, because I think that we have lots of situations where it's really easier emotionally just to say nothing and kind of move along.
Of course, that's the easy path. I mean, the hard thing is to do something, but I'd like to think that in a situation like that, I'd take the harder path and do something. But again,
crazy situations are coming.
Say something and
crazy situations are coming to my mind, even so hard as you're driving down the road and you see a vehicle hit a dog. Well, that's not my responsibility to take care of that or tell that dog owner. I don't know. You think about it. I'm curious by the end of the show, maybe we'll come up with something that you can really recall. Because I think that, honestly, I might make the argument that we all really have different situations where maybe we've successfully or unsuccessfully. We should have a radio program and have call-ins and see how many people call in with stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
When you do a Facebook Live, which maybe someday we'll get to doing that. I do have ideas of that. So people will be typing in, right? Like, I think we come across this a lot more commonly than you would think. Maybe not on a large scale like this with the Sandusky case, but in day-to-day life, absolutely, I think we do. There's another example. I told you earlier I was going to make fun of you. You really haven't heard the Urban Meyer?
No, I have not heard anything about
Urban
Urban
Meyer
Meyer.
is
Today's September 20th, just so you guys know you're listening. Part of my practice of keeping my mental health in check is to turn off the news.
Yeah.
So I do not watch CNN or Fox or any of those media channels. So I don't watch ESPN. So I have not heard anything about this Urban Meyer thing. Chris brought up the Urban Meyer.
It's another
Evidently
example.
something's going on with Urban Meyer. He brought it up earlier, and I'm clueless.
It's another example that is right now happening with serious questions about what to do with this football coach. Now, you know who Urban Meyer is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll just read these headlines. We'll have this on the show notes, but SBNation.com did a cool little rundown on the long and short of what's going on with him. So I'm just going to read the headlines so you and other people kind of know what's going on with Urban Meyer, because there's some serious questions about, what to do with him. He is a head football coach of Ohio State University, and he is well-renowned for his football prowess and the things that he's been able to accomplish on the football field, and has a high level of respect and integrity.
Yeah, he was at Florida, right, with Tebow? Is that right? When Tebow played in Florida? I think so.
He might have been. I'm not
Anyway.
sure. Short reason for the head coach's suspension. I'm just going to read the headlines as it goes down. Smith's now ex-girlfriend, Courtney Smith, was reportedly accused him of domestic violence going back to 2009. The next one says, Meyer kept Zach Smith on staff until July 2018 after a judge issued a protection order to keep Zach away from Courtney. Zach was on staff at Ohio State. Courtney is his wife or girlfriend. And I don't care so much about the particulars. I just want you to know the kind of storyline. Adding to Meyer's problems, the day after firing Smith, he appeared to lie about his knowledge of a 2015 abuse allegation. Meyer went on administrative leave August 1st, following a report that he had known about allegations contrary to what he had just told the Big Ten press corps a week earlier. OSU opened an investigation. The report made clear that OSU's head coach kept Zach Smith on his staff despite years of behavior that would get most people fired. Ohio State football should just keep winning. Oh, and then the last one is, but the Buckeyes are still in an unusual position on Meyer's own making. So that's the basic rundown.
Okay, so he knew about this domestic violence against this assistant coach, and he didn't do anything about it.
And I can't say for sure because I just heard it on Sports Talk Radio, but my understanding is part of the factors is Mr. Meyer, Coach Meyer, might have been friends with Zach's dad, and they had a special relationship. They'd known each other, good friends or whatever.
Huh?
Yeah, and so then he was trying to help over the years Coach Meyer and his wife, this couple. So here is a really interesting example. Now, I want to make it clear, I don't want to get to particulars and break this case down, because I'm not in the know and I don't have facts. I just read as best the facts that I've made. From this point on in the show, I might also want to just even make stuff up to make some points. So up until now, that's what's on the website, and I'll make some comments, but I just want to make sure you realize I'm not making factual comments because I don't want to get, I don't want to spread hearsay and whatever.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so, this guy is a really good example of how you manage moral courage. If I'm to get into Coach Meyer's head, and people are screaming at him right now. This has been going on, domestic violence. She was hit. There are legal charges. There are issues going on. And you did nothing. You said nothing. So what was he supposed to do? He's actually maybe even personally involved. Maybe he saw that there's improvement in the marriage. Maybe he didn't even think, actually this article I think alludes to he might not have even thought there was a domestic violence issue. Can you assess that? Is it domestic violence? Is it not? Let's get into the deeper questions. Do you have to have a dark bruise, a deep bruise, a light bruise, a slap, a red slap? What is domestic violence? He doesn't know. So when do you know that you need to report? So
you're saying there may potentially some gray areas.
There's a lot of gray.
So now he's in trouble for not doing anything when potentially there's two sides to the story.
Right, particularly when you're uncomfortable, you're fearful, You're insecure. You don't want to be a whistleblower. You don't want to blow up a big news story. And I'm now sort of receiving these facts in my head, with a little bit of, perception. It's not. I don't want it to be that big of a deal, so it's not that big of a deal, when it really is.
Right.
So those emotions, moral courage, the concept really makes me think about how do you handle yourself. It is really, really hard, and I'm not giving any excuses for somebody that sees something and doesn't take action.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make that clear. You see something, you got to act. Like we talked about last week. I'm mandated. I see child molestation or neglect, I have to report it. I will lose my license.
Yeah.
But think about it. Why do you think they made it a civil law, or in my case, an ethical condition, to threaten somebody with their license being revoked if you don't tell? That tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's scary to tell.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy. It's easy to sit in our living room and say, oh, well, like you were doing.
I'll
do it.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Absolutely. Well, when you're in the moment, this conference really taught me it's very hard. It's very uncomfortable. Bring a lot of unnecessary attention to me. I don't want that. The whistleblower of a movie. What was that guy? You're a techie guy. Who was the guy that did the whole WikiLeaks thing?
Oh, Julian and can't think of his name.
Yeah, it's another good example. I mean, he was going against an entire corporation. That's hard.
Yeah.
The examples in the news go on and on. I'm just thinking of them all. Enron. Remember back in the day with Enron, with the big company, and they had a whistleblower on some of their financial stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many examples of this, and I got one more big one. But let me check in with you. What are you thinking?
Why is it so hard to do the right thing? I mean, I think we touched earlier on the fears and emotions that might be going along with that kind of stuff. But is it not better to err on the side of caution in these cases? I mean, if you think of kids being abused, or if somebody's at risk to do harm or harm themselves, or if somebody's being harmed in front of you, I mean, why is it so hard to do something?
What if you're wrong?
Yeah, but what if you're right? I mean,
I'm just telling you what a thought would be.
True. Yeah. True.
I'm just telling you what a thought would be. What will happen to me if I say something? Will I lose my job if I report to Human Resources that I saw my boss kind of touch somebody inappropriately in the hallway?
Well, you probably lose it if you don't, and he did. I mean, so you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
You're not going to lose your job. You say, I didn't see anything. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well, I guess you got a point there. But if it could be proven or whatever that you saw something, and
can't prove it. It's my word against his.
Then
my word against his.
That's true too.
He's my boss. And now, if nothing goes anywhere, then how's my relationship going to be with this company moving forward?
Yeah, you better find a new job.
I'm going to sacrifice my 10-year position at a job that I enjoy because I'm not willing to say I think he was inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Those are good points.
It's really,
definitely
really intimidating.
Something to think about. Yeah.
On a big level, am I going to blow the whistle on the company that I work for that I've got $5 million in stock for? Company will go down if I blow this whistle.
Mm-hmm. Those are tough.
They're weird situations.
Yeah, they are. You got a point.
It's really weird, the emotions that you go on through. And I'm telling you, this lady made me think a lot about it. And the challenge that it is. You have to challenge yourself to speak up. I got another big one, right?
Okay, let's hear it.
You have to know what's going on with the Catholic Church right now.
Not right at the moment, but I do know, I think I know what you're talking about with these sex scandals and priest abusing boys and that kind of stuff. Is that kind of where you're going?
It is blowing up, folks. And I don't know where we're going, but it might be on the biggest level ever. You thought Jerry Sandusky's case was a big deal when you're talking about, 20 years of coaching kids and whatnot. what's going on right now, if you haven't caught the news, it's really big up in the Buffalo area and the Pennsylvania area where they are coming out. They're coming out, and I guess it's not the time to launch what I think of as the He Too movement. More on that. Maybe we need to do a big fat hashtag on He Too, because men are coming out that have been molested by priests, and the sex scandals that have been going on for a long time, where people have been molested in the Catholic Church. And I think that it really probably very well might be, Craig, a worldwide phenomenon where, just to give you a little bit of the tip of the iceberg, a particular bishop might know of a priest that's been molesting, been a predator, and instead of taking action, they just move him to another church.
Wow.
And move him again.
Wow.
And move him again. And again. And again. And that's just one guy. It just breaks my heart to think how many people may have been sexually offended in that way. And what more of an authority are you going to try to be a whistleblower for than the bishop? He's the bishop, man. Or the cardinal. He's a cardinal. Or we can go right up to the top, as is now happening, and saying, did you have moral courage to take action? It seems as though you did not have moral courage to take action. Speaking to the Pope. The Pope.
Does it go that high?
It seems that I'm not an expert in details. I do believe that the Pope has issued statements that, one of the best ways to respond to this type of thing in a holy way and religious argument is silence. Do not credit the. I don't know. I'm not smart enough religiously to attack that, but
saying that.
He
Pope
is
saying that.
He is currently getting the cardinals together and the bishops together. I guess the Catholic Church is really in a hot freaking pickle. It's a big ass issue that's a brewing.
Wow.
And I want you to be thinking about that when you start hearing these news stories and you see it. We are talking about moral courage. How do you go to the priest and say, hey, you hurt my son? How does that victim tell his parents? Hey, Mom, we go to church every week, but, no, they're not going to tell anybody. You see, they're not going to say this happened to me. Domestic violence victims, sexual abuse victims, financial crime victims. People are well known to be shut into a room of silence, not able to speak. And it's changing. Thank goodness. But I want to point out the necessary piece of moral courage and why it's so hard to speak. So that we can speak.
Okay.
So that we can get things that need to be talked about. Things that we can need to get stopped. And deal with our own internal fear so that we can accomplish that end. It's intense, man. I'm telling you, it's intense.
Wow. I had no idea all this was going on in the Catholic Church either.
You did not?
Did not. I mean, I've heard of the things in the past, but I didn't know there was something currently going on.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we might even put on the show notes just a news story of Buffalo News, I guess, is doing a lot of coverage on this. We should probably do a good service and practice what we preach, and put a link on there.
Yeah.
I didn't have it on our show notes in my research, but we should do that.
We will. Yeah.
Because we need to be able to identify and talk and talk about those things that are scary to talk about.
Right.
How'd that be a tagline for our show, Craig? Here at Through a Therapist's Eyes, we talk about the things we're scared to talk about.
Somebody's got to talk about them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Never see. I'm curious, just hearing some of this maybe from your perspective. I mean, do you ever think as much about this as moral courage? And we're hitting a half hour. It's kind of, I talked about this on that conference day for
Yeah, I don't
7
think I sit
hours.
around and think about those things. I guess when you hear these kind of stories, it's easy to be an armchair quarterback or whatever and say, I would do something, and like we talked about earlier. But, you've brought up some pretty good examples of being thrown into those kind of situations, and, maybe you wouldn't. It's easy to say, I would do something until you're there. So who knows? So how do you build moral courage, and how do you it's a scary thing, and there's consequences. So how do you know how to do the right thing? I think in some cases it seems almost obvious. I think with these examples where children are being abused, that you err on the side of caution.
It's an interesting question, and I'm so glad you asked it. That is an excellent question. How do you build moral courage? I don't know that I have. I actually have in my gut just got an immediate reaction. I'll tell you that, but boy, that's something that we need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
That's something that we need
really
to be thinking
is,
about right there.
And it's, I guess, if you build a muscle, you lift weights and build muscles. And I believe that you can build the mind in the same way by some of the things we've talked about.
Emotional skills.
Mindfulness and other things like physical challenges. I believe that builds mental toughness. But but it's a practice, right? But how do you practice moral courage? How do you build that muscle?
Yeah. The immediate thing that came to me when you said that is just the idea that you might not want to do it alone.
Yeah.
You don't want to attack the beast at the big agency or whatever. You maybe try to get a group of people together. You have a problem in your neighborhood. You see a domestic violence situation. Maybe you go to your other neighbor and pull in a few people. So that you're not alone. I do know that's something that's talked about, but exercising moral courage and building it. We need more of that discussion for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of those cases, you might have time to get a group of folks together.
Yeah.
But there again, you might walk up on an incident in the parking lot of the grocery store where you need to step in.
Yeah.
And you're the only one there.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do.
That's why we call them sometimes heroes.
Yeah.
We've heard some of those stories and shootings and stuff.
Yeah.
It's heroic. It's because it's not easy to do.
It is. And if you come up on something like that, you're liable to get shot or stabbed or just, get your own beat down.
You don't want to just, take the danger of losing a 10-year job. You might be losing your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, that makes it tough.
Scary, for sure. But we can step it up. We can, do it as a group. And, maybe you got 5 guys in that parking lot or five people, men and women, that step together and act as a group to confront the person.
That's
you can
true
do it quick too.
You
grab a few people. Hey, you see all that? We need to go there.
You think about big events. If you take 9/11 as an example, on that last plane, those people banded together and did something.
Yeah,
they all unfortunately ended up perishing, but they perished together. They got after it together.
Yeah, so that is the answer immediately that comes to my mind. Be together.
Yeah.
Don't be alone.
I think that's great advice.
So we need to wrap up. Man, that was another sort of powerful show. I'm thinking it's these topics.
It's a good topic, and it's a lot to wrestle with. It's a lot to take.
It's just talking about it. It's like you think. I think of these topics, and then getting to talking about them is like, man, okay, we need to go back to mindfulness.
Yeah.
Something simple, but it's cool. Substance abuse. How's that for simplicity?
That's another complex one there.
This is a mental health and substance abuse therapist is the way I define myself. And I think it's about time we kind of get into some of those things. So, kind of like an overview is coming up on whatever we're at next week. I'm thinking episode 8.
Substance abuse is next time?
Yeah, I think
that's where we're going?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You okay with that?
Yeah, man.
I learned something too, man.
What's that?
Doing a podcast and listening to podcasts a little bit more now. I figured out what hitting the subscribe button means.
Oh, yeah?
It downloads automatically.
It does download automatically. Cool. Yes, it does download automatically. And speaking of subscribing, if you're enjoying the show, then we would appreciate you clicking on that subscribe button on whatever you're listening to us on, iTunes or Stitcher. And would also love to have a 5-star review if you're enjoying our content.
I seriously haven't figured that one out.
Well, that's probably another lesson. But if you subscribe and leave the 5-star reviews, folks, it's going to help us get found when people search for topics that we're covering. and help us get the word out about what we're doing here at Do What Therapist Eyes on the podcast. We'd love for you to do that if you can. You can also find more information about us. Chris mentioned show notes earlier. We're keeping show notes for each individual show on our website, throughwiththerapisteyes.com, where we're going to include links and those kind of things on the website. And also, you can listen right there on the website if you want to. Each individual show is playable from the website. We also have links to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and we're going to do some writing and blogs out there. If you have questions or comments or ideas for show topics, we'd also love for you to post those on the blog or on Facebook too. And as questions start coming in, some of our shows might just be question sessions or question and answer sessions. And we'd love to do something like that too.
Let's face it, just a quick note, talk about moral courage. It's a mental health topic. I want to post a question on Facebook. That might be really a moral courage question.
It could be. If you're uncomfortable posting questions on Facebook.
I think you can do it on the blog anonymously too, can't you?
I think you can do it on the blog, and you can do it. I don't think you can do it anonymously on the blog. Anonymously. You can also send us a message on Messenger, and that'll come directly to us, and we'll keep your identity confidential. And so that's another way to get in touch with us.
Cool.
Anything else, Chris, before we
wrap it up? I think that'll do. Thanks for talking. Appreciate your energy on it.
Man, I love it. Good deal.
All right, you guys have a good week.
Thank you, sir.